Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 34 years. I've helped over 5,200 folks finance their homes. My team and I believe in custom tailored loans, not the one size fits all approach. We believe there is the right mortgage for you, and we believe we are the team to deliver it.
And I'm Ian Arnold, part of Rick's hardworking mortgage team. I've been in the financial industry for 15 years, helping customers rebuild their credit to get the best possible interest rate. I have a passion helping you secure your overall real estate dreams and also hopefully help pay off your home even faster.
And we want to remind you, if you have any questions on Indy's real estate market or the mortgage information, just go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And today we have a little special show. We have Jim Morgan. Jim, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
And you're with Caring Transitions.
I am. I'm with Caring Transitions Indy North. The elevator speech is Caring Transitions is the largest senior downsizing and relocation and liquidation company in the United States with 300 plus franchises across the country.
I know when I talked to you about it, it was like, wow, I want that on the show, because I think getting that word out is incredibly valuable, because I think the service that you do is incredibly valuable for people. I've actually talked to agents, and they're like, yeah, I think one that used you guys, maybe a couple of them, and they were like, wow, it was unbelievably easy. It went perfect. And so I thought, this is a great service for somebody who is in the position that they need that service.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's interesting is my background is in real estate, and so I'm not doing it now, but for basically since the earth was cooling, that's what I've been doing. My dad was a broker before me. I've been in the business since 1983. Was in the new home business for 27 years. Ran a bunch of builders, and then in real estate, and so I've sold about 1,500 homes myself, and I don't have any idea how many I've managed. I was the VP of sales for Remax Ability Plus for 11 years in our 14 offices and just under 300 agents. So I've seen a lot of stuff. So I understand the needs of the agent, which is part of what comes down to. The reason Caring Transitions was originally brought into that family or that company to help agents get houses decluttered, get them ready to list, get them cleaned out so they could be sold and closed. So we brought it in because we saw the need for realtors. But as I've been doing it, also now this is all I do. So it's kind of, so yeah, it is very fulfilling to do. So we're very much a solutions-based company. It's kind of hard to say what we do. There are a lot of companies that are in our space, but I don't know of another one that does all that we do. Okay, this one will do this and this one will do that, but they don't do everything. I never know what we're going to get involved in until I get in to do a free appointment with the client to walk them through and see what their needs are, what their wants are, what they can afford, what we can do. So we can do decluttering where maybe you're trying to list a house and the garage is a mess and the basement's a mess, and maybe they have the junk drawer became a junk room. We can go in there and get that taken care of so you can get it on the market. We can come in and we can pack them, we can move them, we can unpack them, and then set up their apartment on the other side, which is critical when you're moving into like assisted living. I know from a personal experience how traumatic it is for that senior that's been in their home for 40 years that's moving out of it, normally not by desire. Normally something's forcing the issue. And it causes a great deal of depression. It causes all kinds of different things with them in that move. So we do what we can to replicate their house. And we take pictures of their old place and replicate it to the new place as close as possible. And if you have a memory care issue where people wake up every day to a new day, we make sure if the nightstand's on the left-hand side of the bed, it'll be on the left-hand side. If the clock's to the right corner of it, it's in that spot. The picture's in the same configuration on the wall, as much as geographically possible, to help drive down that stress level, because otherwise they get jolted every morning, when they wake up. So, and when we set that up, they get a chance to go to dinner that night. They get to start, rather than having the excuse of staying back in their room trying to do boxes, they do that. So I had a family member that we moved. And this was before Caring Transitions, and I didn't know any of this stuff. I thought I did. Okay.
Yeah. You spent a lot of years in the
Yeah.
real estate, right?
Yeah. Well, on top of that, I've been the only sibling that stayed in the state, so I had to downsize my in-laws, my parents, my uncle, and so I'm still POA guardian and trustee of two of them.
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those deals. So I thought I knew. I've been dealing with it for like 20 years, but I moved this family member. I didn't think it was a move. I moved them from an upstairs apartment to a downstairs apartment on the same end of the building. They got to park in the same parking space. They had the same neighbors. I didn't see it as a move. So I didn't button everything up. It was very livable, but there were still some things in boxes or what have you. Caused this person to go into a massive depression. They tried to commit suicide, did 2 stints in the senior psych ward, and then was told that by the psychiatrist that if it got to a senior living where there'd be more social, more structure, that they would sign off. So we moved there, and that time we had everything buttoned up. The beds were made, the pictures were hung, everything was done, and it's been this individual has been a rock star. He is the president of the garden club. On the board, he's an ambassador. He does the flower arrangements for the Sunday morning service. So we set him up for failure the first time, not knowing we did.
Right.
And then the second time we set him up for success. And that's what we do here. We also do estate sales. We do online auctions. We do clean outs. And I'm on my way from here to a house that I'm told is a hoarder house. So we'll find out.
Wow.
We've done those. So we can do a little bitty one to some pretty intense stuff.
And a hoarder, I mean, it's already difficult to move a hoarder, from what I understand. They don't want to give up any of their stuff.
Right. And now this particular one, from what I understand, it's an estate. So
okay. You'll have that
a lot of the hoarders that we've done, it's been the guardian attorney or whatever, or the caseworker that we're dealing with. We have done one actual for the hoarder herself. That was an interesting, an interesting time. So.
Well, it's really important to me because my mom ended up with memory issues. She had Alzheimer's. And as you talk, I realized the first thing we did is she went to different houses, right? So she'd go and she'd stay for 3 or 4 months, and then she'd move to the next kid, and then she'd move to the next kid. And you could tell that was really hard on her because I don't think we ever thought you got to put everything in the same place and all that. But even then, I think it's hard. Ultimately, she ended up in a facility, and that was really hard. And so I think having somebody who's done it multiple times makes a huge difference. It would really help it would have helped her out.
It helps the family, helps the individuals. We don't mean to make these mistakes, but we don't know any better. Right. Trust me, I've been there a lot. And when I got into Caring Transitions, and I started going around and meeting the senior service providers that cover all kinds of different bases. Actually, I got angry because I'm going, where have you been, and why didn't somebody tell me that all these different services exist, or what they are?
Right.
I was, and most of us are so misinformed. We have such bad information about what these things are. We don't lack resources. We don't lack services and programs. What we lack is the knowledge of them and how to access them. Okay, so that's a lot of what we do at Caring Transitions. Is I'm always steering people towards other services that could help them through the process. In fact, it was so much so that it became a passion project, and we just got Caring Transitions to let us do this. We were running it separately as a separate entity, but now we're able to kind of merge it into our Caring Transition Indy North franchise, where we can use it. It's really just a gift to our clients and their families. We developed a website called Life's Copilot, and Life's Copilot is a portal of real information from real experts for free for the consumer. And it's all about anything senior, anything that goes along with the different programs. You can go on there, and there's a resource page or resource thing, drop down. There's a glossary of terms. When you go to any part of the senior living, they're going to start talking about ADLs, just like realtors talk about. We have all our acronyms, and we talk in a way that we assume people know what our acronyms mean, which they don't. But we have a glossary of terms so that people understand that. We have a video library. We do 2 expert panels a month. We'll pick a topic, and then we have experts in that topic come in and do it. So anyway, that's just another resource that we provide. And then when I'm in with a house, I'm constantly going, here's this video, here's this resource, here's this stuff you can go to, and here's this expert that can actually solve your problems beyond our scope.
Right. So what was that website?
It's called lifescopilot.com.
Okay. And then if somebody wants to get a hold of you about any of the services that you provide, what's the best way?
Well, you can call me 317-610-7458, or you can get me at jmorgan@caringtransitions.com. Or if you go on Life's Copilot, there's a link where you can go to ask for a Copilot, which is a help. And right now, I am that.
You're the co-pilot.
I am the co-pilot. And I know enough to be dangerous in a lot of subjects, but I do know who to point you to. So,
Awesome.
So I think that's wonderful, especially because I dealt with my grandparents, Alzheimer's and all that, and we had to transition. I wish we knew companies like this existed, for one. That would help our family out a lot. But so do you also help? So my other grandparents just moved out. They had a 3-story home, and they were struggling to walk upstairs. Do you help transition like them into like a ranch style home and stuff like that?
Well, we can we'll bring in other help. Okay, we'll need a realtor involved probably. Okay, we'll need to have very likely there would be a situation where we would have we could help them by doing an estate sale, do online auction, get rid of a lot of the excess stuff. We can pack them and move them. We can unpack them in the other place. So yeah, we can do that. It doesn't really matter. In fact, our bread and butter, our mainstay is dealing with seniors and downsizing, but we can do anyone. We just, one of the Colts that left the Colts, we just moved he and his wife to Alabama. So, he wasn't that old, so in fact, he just got another job with another team. So, but anyway, so we can do about anybody.
You just focus on.
We've done divorces where we've had 2 people that didn't want to be in the same house together dealing with things, and they gave us lists of stuff, and we packed one list with like blue tape and one list with like red tape or whatever.
Okay.
And moved them to where they wanted to be. So we can do whatever someone needs. Mm-hmm. Again, we're solutions based.
Yeah. And so do you have to have a psychology license? Because I understand dealing with certain people, especially telling a guy 40 years old and you're having to move him out, it's probably not the best thing. And
well, I think I've been in real estate for a long time, so it's the same thing. I don't really know there's a whole lot of difference. Maybe different subjects, but it's pretty much the same minefield.
Yeah, it is very interesting because when you have to deal with so many different type of people in so many different situations of maybe a husband passed or a wife passed, and then you got to deal with that. And all right, now we got to move on. I mean,
well, let's put it this way: we have we say we have a 1-hour free consultation. Depending on the circumstances, those can very easily become 3, or whatever. Because I'm not going to walk out on a widow that's crying, and we just need to help her. Really, I think what a lot of it is just help them find it's going to be okay. We can get you through this. You're not. It's not all on you. And I think that there was I would have really loved there's somebody like this around when I was selling. There's a neighborhood called Lake Charlottesville, and I sold that neighborhood out. I went in there and it was a disaster, and I was able to play in there for a while and have fun. But most of my buyer profile were moving out of the 5,000 and 6,000 square foot home on maybe an acre. They'd come down to this 3,000 square foot home on a 50-foot wide lot, and they'd first have sticker shock. Okay, because they found out the new one's still more expensive. Second of all, they're going, I'm moving from all this stuff. And then additionally, they go back home, and they knew they needed to move. They knew they wanted to move. They were empty nesters, what have you. They didn't need that much stuff to maintain. But they would come back home and they'd see all that stuff, and it's so overwhelming, the idea of, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to handle this? And surely the kids want all this furniture and all this stuff that they had as kids. Or probably they're not, but they
Right.
still think that. And that because that buyer cycle would have ended up being 5 or 6 years of follow up before they would finally pull that trigger and do it. I think if you use somebody like us to go in and say, look, we can help you with this. It's not going to be overwhelming. We'll do all these things for you. I think you can cut that buyer cycle way down.
Yeah, I think it's vital, important. I spent 11 years with a new home builder, the Estridge companies, and the hardest person to help buy a home is the person who walks in and they say, I want to downsize. Just like you said, I've got 5,200 square feet. We want 3,000 square feet. Okay, fantastic. They walk through the house. Well, this room is too small. That room's too small. That room's too small. That room's too tall. And it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that. Well, you want to downsize, but you don't want any less space. I don't know how you do that. And it's tough. And now I realize why, because I'm in that position where I've been in my house 30 something years and it's bigger and we don't need all that space. We're not ready to move yet, but I understand why people do that. And to have somebody, and it is intimidating to look at all your stuff and go, what am I going to do with this?
Well, your whole life as you're growing up in your house, you start small house, you get a bigger house, you take all your stuff with you and get more.
Yes.
Okay, well, all of a sudden, the first time you start going to the downsize, now you have to start doing a call. What things don't make the cut? What things don't get to go with me? And so that becomes more of a challenge. It's an emotional challenge. And then all the memories and all the kids' memories that are tied into these things, okay, which they can be kept digitally, okay, as far as that goes. But that's a lot of what we're doing is coaching and trying to help them do that. And I will tell you, like the online auctions, for instance, I always tell every single client that I'm talking to, if you want to maximize the return on your things, if you want to make the most money on, grandma's china cabinet, do it yourself, cut the middleman out, do it on Nextdoor, do it on Facebook Marketplace, do it on eBay, and then you get to deal with all the strangers coming to your door and trying to deal with that. And you're probably going to it might take you weeks, months, or years to get that accomplished. I go, what we bring to the table is we're in and out in about 10 days. Okay. We may get really good prices for some things. We may not get some great prices for the other things, but the idea is, what is your priority? Do you want this stuff out of your house? We can be done in 10 days. The other group that really is a niche for us is people who have a very strong emotional connection. So maybe every time they think of mom or dad, they think of this particular hobby or this particular, things, these items, but there's no room in their lives for them in their house, right? But the idea of giving them to Goodwill feels like it's dishonoring the relative. Well, we have a really broad reach, so we personally send out over 16,000 emails for every one of our sales. Caring Transitions, our online auction website is called CT Bids. By the way, it's very addictive if you get on there. So, and I will never ever buy anything retail new ever again, because you can get really good deals.
Really?
Oh yeah. I didn't buy it from ours, but I did the bid just to give you an idea what's out there, and why you might want to pay attention to these. I've been looking for a sectional couch, a leather sectional couch, and they're quite pricey.
Yes.
Okay, and I was doing a bid for an auction. I didn't get the auction, so they went a different direction, but I knew where it was, and I watched it, and I bought this 1-year-old $10,000 custom-made leather couch from a lady who had passed in a 10,000 square foot home in Geist, that she had no pets and it was just her. So the couch probably never was sat on. Okay, and I got it for $700. Okay.
Oh my!
So it's in my living room now. So my point is, you're crazy to go to the store and buy retail. Look at ctbids.com and see what's out there. Okay.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun. But anyway, so. But like, for instance, we had two families in 1 week, and both in Carmel. One of them, mom moved to an assisted living. The family had been in there digging through drawers and closets and getting rid of stuff for a long time, and they were done. Put a fork in them, they were toast. They just did not want to deal with it anymore. and they kept the things that mom thought were valuable. Okay, and by the way, that's just if you're going to have me do it, please let me come out and look at it before you take stuff to Goodwill. Because in this case, like for instance, they took the Fiesta ware and the Corning ware to Goodwill, and they kept the dining room table and the china cabinet that nobody wants. The Fiesta ware would have gone for several $100s. So it's like let me tell you before you go to Goodwill. But in any case, so we came in. Their whole goal was to get it cleaned out, which we did. And we ended up doing like 33 lots, and all they took out at the end was the family was like a bag of towels.
Wow.
Everything else was gone. So they got what they wanted out of the deal. We had another one that same week. This lady was moving to Texas to be near a niece. That was the only relative she had. She had no children to get things, but she was a curator of all family antiques. And her place was amazing. She had a 3-bedroom, 2-story with a basement condo in Carmel. And she had a bedroom set that a subsequent great-grandmother had bought when she lived in Paris in the 1800s. She had chairs that another great-grandmother bought from her old boss, the Governor Nix of New York during the Civil War. So they were from like 1800, and so these places, this new 1-bedroom condo she was moving to, a lot of this stuff couldn't go. So we found people who had the same kind of passion for these things. She got to meet them when they were driving. People drove from Cleveland to get some of this stuff. And she was able to, tell the story. She felt so good about honoring her great parents. But we're sending out to 16,000 emails. We're doing all social media. Caring Transitions CT Bids has 500,000 registered bidders. So that's all exposed. And then we put it on estatesales.com and estatesales.net and estatesales.org. So we're getting a pretty big eyeballs on there. So, and we're looking, if it's something that's an emotional attachment, we're going to find somebody that cares about it, that type of thing. So,
yeah. All right, Jim, let's take a side step.
Okay.
Let's get to know you a little bit better.
All right.
So I heard you have a very interesting hobby you've recently picked up. Let's talk about this.
Oh, the bees.
The bees.
Yeah. Well, my wife basically makes fun of me because I'm an old farm boy. Okay, I grew up on a farm. We farmed 2,000 acres between Knowles and Carmel, and we had about 2,000 head of hogs. I had cattle and sheep, and we had a 5,000 bird chicken house. So, I knew how to work. I started working full time at 6. So my wife makes fun of me that my garden and my bees and whatever are my farm today. So that's probably true.
So, probably is.
She figured it out before I did. But I'm a new beekeeper. I've got five weeks into it now. It's been interesting. I've learned a lot. A lot of those lessons have been forced upon me, but I've had some pretty good fun with it.
So how is it is it really hard to take care of bees? I see a lot of people starting
It's really not. There are, like for instance, what we were talking about when I got in here is I had an interesting evening last night because I have a young colony of bees. So a very small colony, very small, maybe 30,000 bees. Okay. A big colony might have 60,000 bees. And a big colony down the street has decided that they want all the food sources that my bees have stored, so they want to kill my bees and take it. So we're in the middle of a war. So right now, I had to go in last night and close, the old story of Thermopylae, where you just have a very small battlefield. That's what I'm trying to do, is give them a very small opening to defend. So we'll see how it comes out. I may or may not have bees by.
Yeah, you can't fight the battle for them.
No, they're on their own. I just gave them a better, better spot to go do it. But other than that, it's really been fun. I've been having a blast. I've got a lot of people that want to do it now and watching me. I make one real strong suggestion is read about it for about a year, study it before, because it's been very helpful to have had that, pre-done rather than seeing all this stuff for the first time, not knowing what I'm seeing, so.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah, it's been fun, but I've had critters forever. We raised Dobermans for 30 years, so, we've got a lot of champion Dobermans.
He's a farm boy.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, talk to you about Caring Transitions, some of the things that you guys offer, what's the best way?
Call me, 317-610-7458. You can get me on at jmorgan@caringtransitions.com. So either one is fine. And just, get a hold of me before you need it. That's the thing. If I could give you any advice, do some research beforehand, we can then keep you from giving away your $500 Fiesta wear, that type of thing. And then for that matter, if you have, if you have a question about anything along the aging process, if it's like, how do I afford senior living? How do I, what do I do? Mom's got Parkinson's. How do I deal with the off periods or the dyskinesia? I've got, dad's got Alzheimer's or dementia. What do I do? I am not an expert on any of those, but I have enough information. I do know the expert to call. So call me. I'll be glad to hook you up. Or go to Life's Copilot, and it's there. A lot of information there too.
Awesome. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right. Now, I will tell you this. You're a much better option than what I'm telling my parents. So after going through our grandparents' fiasco of all that, I tell them, look, before you get to a certain age, I'm going to put a big old dumpster and you just get rid of all your stuff. You have way too much stuff.
There is that. So, yeah. Good luck with that.
I think one of the big pieces is, at least for me, is I look at it and like sometimes you watch some of the shows like American Pickers, things like that. We don't actually know what's valuable and what isn't valuable.
No, and it changes, constantly.
Yeah. And an auction to me is the best way to get, you said, sometimes we get good price, sometimes we get bad price. But the reality is in an auction, if you generate enough interest and you generate enough people to come to the auction, you're getting the top dollar for whatever it is.
And we'll do a lot of groupings of things. Well, because, you can't be an expert on every single thing. So like, for instance, we just did one. And this family had, oh my gosh, just tons and tons and tons of glassware and silver plate and whatever. And a lot of that doesn't really bring a lot, okay? But so what we would do is we would bundle it together to hopefully that the bundle would bring enough to make it make sense. Or that there'd be some piece in there that a collector would see and they would go out of their mind to get it. And they don't care if they have to get the rest of it to get it. We had like 4 different groupings of this silver plate stuff. 3 of them, I think, went for $50 to $70. One of them went for $870 because there was something in there that some collector saw.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what you're trying to find is that collector.
And not only that, it probably wasn't one collector who saw it.
Oh yeah,
right?
There has to
two.
You have to have a minimum of 2. It's an auction, and so that's absolutely critical. Is you have to have, and we're trying to get those eyeballs.
Yes.
To find those 2 that will fight.
That's all you need. 2.
Yeah,
2 who want it.
Yeah.
You
got one that wants it, they're going to get it cheap.
Yeah. Now, do you also do auctions like on property or in?
No,
or
we haven't done that. We've done online. I really like, to be honest with you, we can do estate sales, but I really like the online, and the reason being, I think it's safer.
Yeah, okay. I would agree.
Any kind of an estate sale or garage sale, you're inviting anyone off the street into your house. Okay, and today, I don't know. Okay, and again, this is another personal thing. My mom got robbed because the neighbor was having garage sales, and they saw this little old lady with her little King Charles Cavalier walking out in the yard, and so the next thing you know, she got robbed. Okay, so and I just don't like to do that. So with the online auction, no one knows where it is. They know it's Carmel, they know it's Fishers, they know it's Zionsville, whatever it is, but they don't know the address until they have purchased. And when they purchase, we send them the invoice with the directions to come pick up. But then we have their name, their phone number, their email address, their house address, and their credit card.
Yeah, okay. They're not likely then to.
Yeah. Now we
guys are probably
can't see their credit card, but we have it.
But you're probably there.
And we're there. Our team is there to deal with it. Yes.
Right. So you don't have to worry about it.
But when you get that much information, you pretty much screen out all the.
Yes.
The
riffraff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always funny is, especially growing up, my dad would always say, that guy's dumb. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, oh, the box. He just bought a big screen TV and the box is just sitting there next to the trash can. You need to cut that up.
Yeah. Well, of course, now you can do it because TVs don't cost anything.
Yeah.
Nobody wants them anymore.
Plus, they're screwed onto the walls.
Yeah, I just bought one because I just couldn't resist. I walked through Walmart and they had a 55-inch for $240. I'm going, all right,
I'm
okay. I'm going, okay.
I've got a 65-inch monitor.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a TV monitor in my office because it was so cheap. how do you not do it? And I can't see that well.
Yeah, so I always tell people, I go, don't expect to get a whole lot for your TV when we sell it, because you can go to Walmart and buy them for nothing, So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think was one of your most interesting or memorable stories?
Well, we've had several. Some of them are, some of them you find some really cool stuff. It's fun to, to see the things you see. But one that I would say was a really cool one, as far as it was a heartbreaking one, but it was one that you really felt good about yourself when you were done. Okay. I got a phone call from a geriatric care manager. Okay, which, by the way, if you don't know what they're like a general contractor for all senior stuff, right?
Okay.
And they're wonderful to have, and they're usually pretty hard nosed. That's who you want to be your advocate, right? So I got a call from her. She'd gotten a call from an assisted living locating company that was trying to help this client. This woman had no family, no friends, nothing.
Oh.
She was on her own. She had had a medical emergency back in August, and literally had been in rehab since August to like March. And so now she was qualified. She was strong enough to go to assisted living. So we had to go to her apartment that was left as it was, that she walked out that night before the medical emergency hit, and had to dig through it, find the documents that she needed to keep, the ones we needed to shred, find money, find jewelry, find whatever was in there, pack everything, move it to her new assisted living, unpack it, get it all set up to where she walked in, it was all ready to live in. And then we went back and had an online auction to get rid of the excess stuff, and then we did a clean out at the end. But how would she have ever gotten this accomplished if she didn't have somebody to do this for her? So that is one of those feelings that's good. We had another one that was it was unfortunate the house got torn down, because it was I thought it could have possibly been historical, but it was the Van Camp, like the Van Camp Pork and Beans,
Okay.
family's summer vacation house in Westfield, back when Westfield was out in the middle of nowhere. Okay? And it was like going into a time capsule. It was a subsequent relative that was still living there when she passed, but it was like literally going into a time capsule. It was so cool. But the family were all from out west, and when they told us they got everything out, there's nothing there that they want, just sell it, get it cleaned out, what have you. Well, as we were going through it, we kept finding things. Okay, we found a needle point that one of their great grandmothers did on the boat coming to America. Okay?
Oh, wow.
We found all kinds of different documents, all kinds of different things. And, we kept taking pictures going, are you sure you don't want these, And then we ended up, we even found like $80,000 of stock that they didn't know they had. So, they wanted that, believe it or not.
Did?
Yeah. And
Shocking.
I know, it's really weird. But we did all these things. And in fact, it ended up being, we just kept piling it into a closet. And then at the end, when he came to pick all this stuff up, he was so overwhelmed with all these finds that he took the things that he absolutely wanted. But we ended up hooking them up with the Historical Society from Westfield, and he donated those. We had another one we did that this lady was I would love to have met her. It was in the States, so I only met her son, but she was an attorney, she was a judge, she was a historian, she was a Victorian collector, she did recreations or reenactments. She had like all these dresses and dress forms and all that stuff that do the Victorian. And we sold most of the stuff, but I was really worried. What are we going to do like this Victorian bed that they don't make mattresses for anymore? And this, some of these things, I would take it to Goodwill seems like a sacrilege,
Right.
So they didn't sell. I was not surprised, because it's a very specialty market, because she had more or less a museum in her house. And we found a little museum in Sheridan that took all that stuff. So it felt good to get these things, keep them preserved.
So I do have a question. So I'm kind of curious. So with the documents, stuff like that, I know it's hard to keep track of all it sometimes. But is there words of wisdom you would have as somebody starting to age? What should they try to put it in, like a safety deposit box? Should they try to put a fireproof box? What do you, words of wisdom?
Something that you'll be able to find. There's you want to be able to have it to where it's one place to go to find all these things. one thing is if they're a veteran, you want to make sure they keep their VA forms, because if they need to have VA aid and attendance to help pay for their assisted living, which is a lot of money, okay, you need that form. Okay, so I mean, you can get it again, but it's difficult. Okay, and there are certain years, I can't remember what the years are off the top of my head, but there are certain years that the VA had a fire in their record system, and so if you don't have yours, they don't exist. Okay, so
Wow.
and that we're talking about $2,500 a month that towards either care in assisted living or towards bringing in home care or home health or what have you. So it's something you definitely want to find that piece of paper. Okay, it's usually black with white print. Okay, this is what just so you know. But that's, in fact, we did a hoarder. This gentleman had been kicked out of his apartment because of his hoarding situation, and I never met him, but I dealt with his caseworker, and so we go into this apartment, and just to give you an idea, I knew there was furniture in there, but I couldn't see any.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I did see the top shelf of a bookcase that was exposed, but everything below it was covered was paper and plywood and stuff piled in. In that, we brought his brothers in to help sort through. We had them sitting there. We go, these kind of things. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Find the things that might be family related or what have you. And we found that VA document, which was absolutely amazing that we found that. I still don't know how we did that. And then
it's black paper.
yeah, and still. And then we had we found in a box, under all this stuff, in a box, in a bag, about a wad of hundreds about the size of your fist. So that more than paid for us being there. But
wow.
So you never know what you're getting into, So some of it was really fun, some of it sucks. And I always tell families, I go, if we find family portraits and family pictures, we'll always make sure you get them. And we'll also, if we find certain pictures, we'll make sure you never know they existed. Yes.
So when should somebody and who should be contacting you, and when's the best time?
Well, if you're a realtor and you've got a house that you're trying to get listed and maybe they're stalling because they're overwhelmed, call me. Okay, let me see if I can help that process. Or that you've got a house that you need to get listed and they want to help. If it's a house you need to get closed and they need to get that stuff out of there or need to get them moved, that's a good time to call me. If you are, when a lot of calls take place is Thanksgiving, Christmas, right in that time frame. Okay, because people go home, see mom and dad, haven't seen them for a while, they've talked to them on the phone or whatever, but they haven't seen them. And then all of a sudden, when they're there for a few days, they see how much they've slipped and how much they're, maybe they need help. So that's a lot of times when these things start happening. My suggestion is try. I don't have any problem coming out and looking at you and not knowing you're not going to do anything for a while. I can give you some advice. I can give you some direction to start going. Most people are kind of like my family. My family, we have this path down pat. I mean, we're good at it. We wait until there's a crisis and then try to deal with it at that point. This is all
when you have no choice.
This pre-planning stuff.
Did you get that from my family?
Apparently. But we do it over and over and over again. So we're real good at it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we do all tend to do our habit. Whatever our habit is, that's kind of what we do. I do the same thing with vacations. I know people who will plan a vacation a year and a half, 2 years in advance.
Yeah.
And they get like the best hotels and they're in the national park hotels and all that. We are always on the outside because I can't wait a year and a half to go do it.
Yeah.
I don't have that patience.
Yeah, that's kind of the way we've always handled all the senior healthcare stuff. So yeah, we just wait till the last second and deal with it.
And I know there's tremendous amount of services, so this is a pretty big question, but what all do you help people with?
Well, we sort, organize. We, like I said, do document shredding. We do. Oh, here's an example. Here's one that we did, and it was a realtor. She and I worked together for years, and she had a client whose mom had passed, and she'd sold him his house, and she sold mom her house. So they've had a long-term relationship, and he was emotionally frozen from losing mom. Okay, and so really nothing had happened. There hadn't been a bill moved from the tabletop for months in the house. And from what I understand, the mortgages weren't even being paid. And so now that's when the realtor got serious and go, you're going to lose this thing if you don't let me get it sold and get this
Right.
done. So she brought me in to help him, and we ended up going in, and his mom was a paper hoarder. She had documents going back into the 70s, and so my team spent a full day in there just going through closets of papers, and shredding things and whatever we had to do. And when I first went in, I said, "Look, the papers we're going to have to do. We can't just put those in a dumpster. We're going to have to deal with those, no matter what we do." Okay, and then we can do a full on clean out. Just take everything out, take it to Goodwill or wherever you want to go. And I go, it's going to be about $8,500 with the papers and all that kind of stuff. Or we can do the paper stuff, which still has to be done. We can't change that. And then we can do an online auction to try to sell most of the stuff in here, and then a clean out at the end, because one garage bay was floor to ceiling just junk, and then there was a attic was kind of like that. So it wouldn't be worth our while for them. Or you'd be paying us too much to dig through it to ever see anything out of that. So let's just dump that at the end. So we had the 8,500, or we could do this other. We did the other way. We did the clean out with the paperwork. Then we did the online auction. Then we did the clean out. I think he gave me $1,500 deposit, which is about what the paper was. Okay, and then about, I think at the end, 1,053. So for $2,600, we got that $8,600 job done. Okay, so
Because the rest of it was in the auction.
sale, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's really what we're trying to do we're trying to help. Their asset in most cases is that house. We're trying to get it ready for them to capitalize on that asset.
Yeah, and so if a realtor would like to talk to you, or even somebody that they know their parents are getting there, or how would they get best reach you?
317-610-7458 or jmorgan at caringtransitions.com.
So what Rick doesn't know, though, is the reason why we brought you on here is because his wife was like, "Look, it's time for Rick to downgrade," and so
It's actually, I know that's not true because of the two of us, it's me who would be okay moving to a smaller place, not her.
Oh, so he's doing this for her.
There you go. That's fair enough. And like I said, it's fun to do. We can do it. It is a very stressful time for people. We can help. I think sometimes we can make it fun. It just depends on the circumstances. But it is always. And I will say the thing that I think we're really good at a lot of things. But the thing that I absolutely feel like my favorite is when we do that repositioning for people and resettling people. You just walk out of that feeling like, walking 3 foot above the ground because you know what you've just done for these people.
We had a real estate agent on the other day, and one of the things they were talking about is we asked them, just like we do, what's one of the most memorable deals that you ever had? And this one was when the people wouldn't move out of the house. They just never got. They had to fight them to get out of the house after they closed because they just never got their stuff. You can solve that problem really easy.
Yeah,
we
could do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so, and it's very intimidating to look at all the stuff that has to be done. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law, his parents had to move into a assisted living, and they had to sell the house. They did it all themselves. It consumed probably 6 months of weekends.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And evenings.
Do you know what the average is for a family to deal with mom and dad's house? 9 months.
Really?
Yeah, that's the average.
I think that's what it was for my grandparents, roughly about that.
Yeah, I know that myself. When we made it fall in that same category. My parents, it took 60 days. We got a hard money investor bought the farm, and we had to get out in 60 days. And my son and I will tell you what happened. This again before Caring Transitions. I'm the only sibling that stayed in the States, so guess what, right? So we ended up. My son and I would go up there every night after work, and we got 60 days to get this 2,500 square foot home plus the cellar, which was not a basement, it's a cellar, plus the 52 by 75 pole barn cleaned out. Okay, and in the corner of the pole barn, Dad had a U-Haul box truck he bought. Never did run, but he had it there to put the good stuff. Right? Okay.
Okay.
So yeah,
So good stuff.
the
was
good
in
stuff
there.
was there. Yeah. So in any case, my son and I would go through and we would walk through every room and we'd pick things up and we would, fool with it and look at it. And we're both history nerds, so we get lost in things periodically. Okay. And then we would monitor, we'd go through the entire house, the barn, the truck, the whole bit. Not do a single solitary thing. We'd end up on the back porch drinking a bourbon and smoking a cigar and watching the sunset. And we did that for 3 days in a row. And the fourth day we finally go, okay, we have to start right here, but that's what happens to people. My in-laws, when we had to do them, we let that house sit for 18 months because they were absolutely convinced that they were moving home when they got feeling better. Okay, we knew they were never moving home. I had to be the mean son-in-law that said we're going to take, my mother-in-law to assisted living because she kept falling.
Yes.
And my father-in-law had COPD and arthritis so bad he couldn't pick her up. So 3 times a week they were having the ambulances coming to just pick her up and put in the chair. We're going, you can't do this. And they were in Wabash. So the Wabash Hospital is just a triage center. So they would take them to Fort Wayne or Huntington. When you can't be an hour away from real doctors, this is not going to work. So, but that house just sat because it was easier than arguing with them and just let it sit. Well, so it's been sitting for 18 months. So I go to start cleaning it out. The very first thing, right beside the couch, every house in that time frame had a basket or whatever full of newspapers and magazines, right? So I pick it up and I'm going to throw the whole thing away because, it's 18 months it's been sitting there. And for some weird reason, it was kind of like a God thing because now I know why I would do it. Then I had no idea why I would do it. I went through it and I found the deed to the house in it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that meant we had to go through every pocket, every little nook and
Yes.
cranny, every little door. It took us, we had 18 months plus, about 60 days to get that done. So,
Yeah. So that also tells me that we all know where we put the stuff,
right.
but we need to do a better job of putting it and letting other people know what we did with it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if somebody has any need for your services, which is, I'm guessing, many, many people, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
317-610-7458.
Perfect. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. And please follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
And a reminder, if you know any friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance, let us know. We'll be more than happy to help. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
This is a very interesting subject and something you don't think about, like you said, until the very last minute. So I think people need to hear this.
But it ties in very close with your clientele of the realtors because that's been my world, and
yes,
every house needs to have something done to it and getting out of it.
I think your service is phenomenal, and I can see it would have made our lives a lot easier if we had. I mean, I didn't know about it, and I'm in the business.
Yeah,
right. I never.
I didn't either until it became part of our, across the hallway from it.
Hey,
right.
All I got to keep in mind is you need to stay in business for about another 20, 30 years. As soon as my parents, I'm calling you right away.
I might be using it with 30 years.
I might need it sooner.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Ripma's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.